Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're unpacking something genuinely fascinating about everyone's favorite underwater crew. We're going to look at how a high-stakes kids show brilliantly uses a reckless, swashbuckling pirate cat, yeah, I'm talking about Kwazii, to secretly teach real-world marine biology. If you're a fan of how this show sneaks actual education into pure, unadulterated action, you are absolutely going to love the mechanics behind this narrative.
Let's jump right in by looking at our main character, Kwazii. Shiver me flippers, you scurvy beast, right? That perfectly sets a wildly playful, adventurous tone. You know, Kwazii isn't some stuffy scientist in a lab coat, he's a total adrenaline-seeking pirate. And it's exactly this exaggerated, colorful vocabulary that hooks you from the very first second.
So that brings us to the central question of our explainer today. How exactly do swashbuckling myths teach real marine biology? We've really got to ask how the show manages to balance these fantastical, treasure-hunting myths with highly accurate factual science. I mean, combining pirates and factual biology sounds kind of like mixing oil and water, doesn't it? But somehow, it creates the absolute perfect formula for keeping us totally engaged.
Moving into Section 1, the pirate persona, setting the fantastical stage. So, our baseline for learning actually starts with Kwazii's expectations. He approaches the ocean totally expecting myths. He's constantly digging up these ancient maps from his pirate days at Catesport Island. Whenever he explores a dark cave, he's actively doing a monster check, literally expecting to find a sea monster with 8 heads in there. And when his trusty spyglass goes missing, well, he doesn't just assume he dropped it. Nope, he immediately blames it on an invisible ghost pirate. By establishing this highly imaginative, mythological worldview right off the bat, the show creates this massive, exciting gap between what Kwazii thinks is happening and what's actually happening.
Which brings us to Section 2, Sea Monsters versus Reality, Grounding the Fantasy.
Now, check out the stark juxtaposition we have here. When Kwazii faces something brand new, his pirate brain instantly categorizes it as a monster. He spots a strange, shapeless creature and boom, declares it a slimy pink pudding. But the reality? It's literally just a sea cucumber. And even better, that terrifying invisible ghost pirate that supposedly grabbed his ship? The reality is that it was just a startled manta ray named Cousin Irving, who was accidentally scared into hiding. The show uses Kwazii's extreme imagination to build up all this suspense, only to pull the curtain back and reveal a real, totally fascinating animal. It demystifies the ocean in just the most entertaining way possible.
And you know, the show brilliantly grounds these creature reveals in real scientific environments. Take the Midnight Zone, for instance. Instead of just saying it's really dark, the show actually defines it as a place in the ocean so incredibly deep that the sun never shines there. It's in this totally real, biologically accurate environment that Kwazii loses his spyglass and goes on his wild ghost hunt. The fantasy of a pirate adventure basically acts as a vehicle to let us explore a very real, extreme marine habitat.
All right, Section 3, High-Speed Rescues, Action with a Purpose.
We really see this action-driven purpose perfectly highlighted in Kwazii's character arc. Kwazii loves taking his gut-beast submarine out just to practice his driving skills, or, let's be real, to race fast animals. But after recklessly driving right between a lightning-fast baby dolphin and its mother, he ends up separating them. Suddenly, our reckless pirate racer is forced to step up. He has to become a responsible babysitter while the rest of the crew searches for the mother. Through this whole sequence, we don't just learn that dolphins are fast. We actually get to watch Kwazii interact with the baby, discovering how they communicate through whistling and keeping the baby engaged by playing fetch with seashells. It's brilliant. The action mistake organically leads right into behavioral science.
And this action-oriented biology builds up into even more intense scenarios. With a massive storm approaching, the crew is put on this beautifully structured countdown. They have exactly 9 minutes to check the reef. At the 7-minute mark, they are desperately evacuating the sea life to deeper, safer water. To survive and make it back to base, Kwazii has to rely on 2 things: his newly upgraded turbo button for emergency speed and the fascinating biological reality of a little lobster's big grip.
Now for Section 4, Inside the Whale Shark, Anatomy of a Giant. This specific scenario is the absolute peak of how the show uses physical environments to explain real biological functions. I mean, Kwazii and the crew literally get sucked in like a wet noodle into a massive whale shark. But instead of just giving us a boring diagram of a shark, the inside of the animal actually becomes the map for their whole adventure. When they encounter the gills, they don't just read out a textbook definition. No, they learn firsthand that gills are organs designed to let water back out while keeping food and, potentially submarines securely inside. The environment itself becomes the teacher.
As they search around for their missing crewmate Dashi, the characters have to physically navigate the whale shark's actual anatomy. They have to literally tiptoe across a ticklish tongue, carefully bypass those gills we just talked about, and, most importantly, suck in their bellies to squeeze past spongy walls. And how do they know Dashi went that way? Well, because those spongy walls are specifically designed to trap big objects, and they actually find her hair clip caught right in there. It's such an incredibly clever way to turn biological anatomy into an obstacle course.
But even while delivering all these facts, the script manages to maintain an incredible amount of suspense and mystery. Right there in the belly of the beast, while squeezing through those spongy walls, they hear something super strange. One character asks the other to stop making a clicking sound, only to realize neither of them is actually making it. So who or what is making that clicking sound? By posing questions like this right smack in the middle of an anatomy lesson, the show guarantees viewers are absolutely hooked and on the edge of their seats.
And that really brings us to the grand takeaway of our explainer. By combining the thrilling, myth-filled vocabulary of a reckless pirate with the grounded, factual reality of marine biology, the narrative crafts the ultimate educational engine. The science never, ever feels like a lecture, because the learning feels exactly like a high-stakes adventure. The facts just become the essential tools they need to solve the mystery and survive the mission.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought to really ponder. Kwazii shows us that the unknown is often terrifying, right? It fills our heads with imaginary ghost pirates and sea monsters. But the next time you encounter a slimy pink pudding under the sea, will you see a terrifying monster or a true marvel of biology? Keep exploring, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.